Oscar Willis here with TheMacLife.com, talking to the Russian hammer, Artem Lobov. And Artem, how much the world has changed in just 2 or 3 weeks. What a crazy time we're living in. How are you feeling with the coronavirus, and what's it like over there in Ireland?
Yeah, it's crazy, to be honest. I am just kind of still like shocked, and I mean, I'm doing all the social distancing and staying at home and all that, but as I'm doing it, I'm still like looking around and going, what the hell is going on? Like, what is the story here? How did we get here? It's crazy.
What's it like? I mean, because you've got to still train. You're a professional athlete. What's it like having to train when you can't go to the gym, or you can't hang and train with teams of other people? What are you having to do?
Yeah, it's nightmare, to be honest. I mean, I just try to like do some cardio stuff in the garden, and I do meet with one of my coaches, for pads, David Jones. So we just two of us meet in the middle of the park with no one around, and we just do some pads. But still, well, number one, that's hard to do. That you're not training with your sparring partners, not doing any of the usual training. But what is even harder is that you're training, God knows for what. You're just kind of trying to stay busy more than anything. You're not preparing for anything because there's nothing to prepare for. You don't even know what's going to happen. Is this going to last the whole year? Is this going to last how many months? I mean, who knows? So that's the hardest part as well. Not knowing what's going to happen.
Did you have a fight booked with KSW before all this stuff blew up?
Well, I was like, my negotiation with them was very, very close to kind of getting a deal done, I guess. They reached out to me, we spoke with Martin, the owner of KSW, and it was all going towards, getting a fight signed and me fighting for them. And then just all this kind of went up in the air, and I know one of their shows was canceled and everything else after that as well. Not only that, to be honest, I was actually in talks as well with another bare knuckle promotion. There's a new one in America, and it's also a bare knuckle boxing promotion. They just had the first show with, I believe, Data 5000 was the promoter there, and they just reached out as well just to see what the story was, what I would be interested in fighting, bare knuckle again, and just kind of, getting the feel for it. And then again, all this happened, and that's it, so we will see. I just have to wait and see now, and try and not go completely crazy here, and not get completely fat, and then we'll see what happens.
So is that what you're thinking now? Is it a return to MMA more likely, or are you still into bare knuckle and bare knuckle FC, or are you moving away from them to just wherever the market takes you?
Yeah, well, to be honest, to me, I'm a free agent, so of course, at the end of the day, this is my job, this is how I provide for the family. So, I have to go where the best offer is, and I love doing all of them. I love boxing and I love MMA. I mean, MMA is my bread and butter, that's what I started with. I definitely wasn't saying goodbye to MMA, and I'd love to do all of them, at the same time. Why not? Each brings its set of challenges, the preparation is different for each one as well. But no matter what you're preparing for, you're improving for the other sport as well. So I love kind of going back and forth between the sports. Now I would be very curious to see where my hands are in the MMA world. I've spent a whole year boxing. I've sparred some of the best boxers in the world, in preparations for all these boxing fights. I've defeated a 2-time boxing world champion in the process as well. So I am really curious to see how my hands match up against just MMA guys in an MMA fight. Let's see what happens. Let's get rid of this coronavirus first.
Yeah. Well, I was going to say, it's so hard to talk about the future when none of us know what the fuck's going to happen, but in August, the UFC were planning on returning to Dublin. Is there any possibility you could feature on that card? I mean, I think the UFC fans, especially in Ireland, would love to see you on a big show like that again. Would you be any interest in that?
Yeah, I mean, I absolutely. I definitely would want to do that. People talked a lot about me fighting Zubaira. I'm still very much interested in that fight. Still gonna donate every single dollar from that fight to charity. And it would be good to do it in Dublin. All I ask, I would love for just one fight deal. Like I said to the UFC, is that I'm not gonna be making any money from this. This is not a money issue for me. This is a fight that has to happen. I would just come in for one fight deal in Dublin, Ireland. It would make a lot of sense for them to have me on that card. And that's it. One fight, I come in, we help a charity out. You know, they get loads of money, so that's good. They get a good, you know, fight for UFC Dublin, and we get to, settle our differences with Zubaira in the octagon. So I would certainly be interested in that. And the reason I say just one fight deal is that I'm very, very keen and very, very set on competing in pro boxing, in bare knuckle boxing, and MMA. And obviously, if I'm assigned to UFC exclusively, you know, I understand there's such a big promotion that this would just not work. So that's why, you know, I wouldn't want to be completely committed there, you know, 100% with the UFC, because that means all I can do is MMA, and I really want to explore all the more options. I understand, you know, I'm not getting any younger. You know, I probably have a couple more years left in the sports, so I just want to try it all. I want to box, you know, I want to bare knuckle box, I want to potentially do K1 fights and MMA.
Do you think Zubaira would fight in Dublin?
I don't know, to be honest, but you know, I'm sure he would have to accept it. And I'm not sure if he was keen or not. But if that offer came about, I don't think he would be in a position to turn it down. Just like if that offer came to me to fight him anywhere on this planet, I would accept it. You know, I'm saying UFC Dublin just because, you know, that's on the radar and we started speaking about it. But really, that fight interests me everywhere. To be honest with you, initially he recorded that message for me with, you know, Ramzan Kadyrov, you know, and they invited me over to fight in Chechnya, in Grozny versus him, and they promised a very good deal. And I said, look, I'm ready to do it. At the time I was in the UFC, and so was he. But for that fight to happen on their terms, the way they offered it, we both would have to be outside of the UFC. So I left the UFC and was ready to accept that offer. But he, however, didn't leave the UFC. I'm not sure why he didn't do it, because he had already served 2-year ban for steroid abuse. You know, he was caught and he had to serve 2 years. And now the UFC was telling him that he is going to have to serve another year. You know, another year not fighting. So I left, and we could have done that fight that he himself, you know, recorded the video and was asking me to do. So I left the UFC and was ready to take that fight. But for some reason, he chose not to leave UFC and chose to be suspended for 1 more year, even though he already had been suspended for 2 years previous to that. Now, I didn't really understand what was the purpose of recording that message to me. If he was never, you know, if he didn't have an intention of leaving the UFC, why did he record that message for me? I don't know. But doesn't matter, you know, whatever. It's in the past now. Now we have, like you said, UFC Dublin ahead of us. Let's make that fight happen there, or any other UFC card. You know, I don't mind.
Great stuff. We'll finish up just with, what sort of message do you have for the people who are stuck inside? You know, I think we all kind of missing the gym. We're all wanting to get out there. What movies are you watching? What TV shows are you watching? What are you doing to stop yourself from going crazy right now?
All of those things, to be honest. I mean, nowadays, you know, people have so much free time on their hands, you know, that you have to do all of those things. You know, you have to exercise, you know, obviously don't go crazy with all the bad food. Try and do a bit of exercise, even though it's quite hard. I know it, you know, when you don't know what's happening in the future, you know, it's so hard to get motivated, but you just have to force yourself, you know, watch some movies, go exercise a little bit, you know, try and stay distracted, call up your friends, you know, Skype with your friends, do all those things, you know, but, you know, the main thing is listen to what the government is saying, listen to what the scientists are saying, what the doctors are saying. They're the guys in the know. They're people with genuine information, with facts. So we have to listen to them. If they are saying we need to social distance ourselves from everybody, do it. If they're saying stay indoors as much as we can, do it. And that's it. And hopefully we get out of this soon.
Yeah, that's the crazy thing. When you see people still outside, still at the park, still at the beach, it's a bit depressing, you know. It's like, guys, stay inside, please. Artem Lobov, thank you very much for joining me. I appreciate the time, man.
Thank you so much, Oscar.